But here's the way this works for me. When I was driving up from Florida to Maine last year, because I always drive back and forth, I stopped the first night in South Carolina, and I stayed at a motel, Motel 6 or something like that, and you know, there's really not anything to do there but turn on the TV and kick back and watch the local news and whatever else happens to be on. So I turned on the TV and there was the local news, and they had this story. And the story was about something that had happened at a McDonald's. The McDonald's, you know, this was like a year ago. The economy still really just absolutely wretched. And so McDonald's announced that they were hiring in this town. It might have been Charleston, I'm not sure. But all these people turned up. There were like 1,000 people that turned up to apply for jobs. And there was one woman in this bunch of people that was waiting to try to get a job who had had a fight with another woman the day before. The first woman was married to this guy. She caught the woman who was applying for a job in McDonald's in bed with her husband. She got wicked pissed. And she decided that she was going to confront this woman, you know, and basically rip her hair off if that was possible. So she got in her car. She found out that the woman was applying for a job in McDonald's. And she drove there, and she got out of the car, pushed her way through all these job applicants, and grabbed this woman and started to shake her. They had a fight. The woman who was applying for a job broke away and disappeared into the car, into the crowd. So the woman who had come there got back into her car, put it in gear, and drove into the job seekers. They just went everywhere. There was cell phone footage of it. She got the woman, pasted her a couple of good ones, got back into her car, threw it in reverse, and backed over a bunch more people on her way out. Well, 2 people were killed. And I thought to myself, I want to write about this. I didn't know why I wanted to write about it or what I wanted to write about it. I just knew that I wanted to write about it. Now, some people, when I'm in a group like this, and I'm not going to stand behind this goddamn lectern the whole time because it feels weird, like a presidential debate or something. But people will say, do you keep a notebook? And the answer is, I think a writer's notebook is the best way in the world to immortalize bad ideas. My idea about a good idea is one that sticks around and sticks around and sticks around. It's like, to me, it's like if you were to put breadcrumbs in a strainer and shake it, which is what the passage of time is for me. It's like shaking a strainer. All this stuff that's not very big and not very important just kind of dissolves and falls out. But the good stuff stays. You know, the big pieces stay.
2 of the young writers or more a day to write. Some very good things have been written on an hour a day. Henry Green, one of my pets, was an industrialist, actually. He was running a company, and he would come home and write for just an hour in an armchair, and the wonderful books were created in this way. So take it seriously, set a quota. Try to think of communicating with some ideal reader somewhere. Try to think of print, of getting into print. Don't be content just to call yourself a writer and then bitch about the crass publishing world that won't run your stuff. We all are, yes, we're still a capitalist country, and writing to some degree is a capitalist enterprise when it's not a total sin to try to make a living and court an audience. Read what excites you would be advice, and even if you don't imitate it, you will learn from it. All those mystery novels I read, I think, did give me some lesson about keeping a plot taut, trying to move forward, or make the reader feel a kind of a tension is being achieved, a string is being pulled tight, and other than that, don't try to get rich. On the other hand, I don't think it's if you want to get rich, you should go into investment banking or being a certain kind of lawyer. But on the other hand, I would like to think that in a country this large and a language even larger, that there ought to be a living in it for somebody who cares and wants to entertain and instruct.
Hi, Young Adult Writers Network. I'm Leah Bobet, author of Above. And because it's what I'm doing right now, I wanted to talk to you today about revising, which is something we're all going to need to do. No first draft ever comes out perfect. That's the reason it's called a first draft. So we do revisions to bring out the idea more strongly, to cut away the bits where we were just figuring stuff out, and so I wanted to share with you 3 tips for doing that. The first thing I do when I finish a piece is I put it away. I don't look at it, because when you've just finished something, you're still looking at it as a writer. You're on the inside of an idea. If you picture the idea as a box, it's on top of your head and you can't see the outsides. So it's very important to get away from the story, from the idea for a little while. Go do something else, go write something else. And when you can look at the words you've written and see them more like an editor or like a reader, then you're ready to go. The second thing I do is I will print it out on paper, usually in a different font, on a different type size than I wrote it in, because again, that makes it more separate from you. It's not the piece of visual data you're used to looking at. So again, you're like, oh, these are different words. And I will take a pen and I will go somewhere else away from my computer and just mark it up. Things I mark on manuscripts at this stage: you don't have to fix everything in one go. It's very important to remember that. When I was doing the revisions on Above, I'd do some line work, I'd rewrite some sentences, but occasionally I'd write in the margins on whole pages, "This is stupid, fix it." And I fixed it later. And that's okay, that's allowed. You've got a couple passes to do this. You've got a bit of a chance to make this right. The third thing I'd say is you want to get good feedback from people you trust. And knowing how to find critiquers you trust and who get what you're doing is very important. But also knowing how to take a critique is very important. So when your notes come back from your friends who have read it and they're like, "I don't understand this," or "This is what's going on here, isn't it?" or "I don't really like this sentence, it could be better." Here's the trick in taking critique. You look at it and you think, okay, first off, do I agree with this? If you agree with it and you're like, of course, could have done it that way, much cooler, then you're fine. There, you have a suggestion to incorporate. But if you're not sure, or if your first reaction is kind of to flip out, it's like, no, I can't, sleep on it. Think about it. Try it that way. Because the great thing about right now, a lot of people doing their writing on computers or doing your writing digitally, is that if you open up another file and you just kind of try it out to see how it would look, it doesn't really damage the original. Nothing happens to the original. You're safe. So that would probably be my greatest tip for revision, but just for writing in general. Experiment, play with it, have fun, see how things work, because you've got the time and you've got the space, and when you're playing with it, that's what makes for the best work. So thanks very much and good luck.